Hello to everybody in the room. Really happy that you were able to come and join us because we're going to do 90 minutes of well-being, and what can be better than that, right? So today we're going to be looking at organizational and personal well-being. And in the room with me, I have three absolute luminaries. But just before I get into asking them to introduce themselves, I would like very much for you to know who I am. I'm an educator. I've been born and brought up in India, but recently in the last 3 years, I've divided my time between the UK, where I stay for 6 months, not at the same time, not contiguously, and India. So I straddle two different countries and cultures. In India itself, I work in about 20 states of the country, so it's a bit of traveling. I live out of a suitcase. And so I do need a lot of work on my well-being, my personal well-being, as well as the organizational well-being. I run 2 organizations and work with multiple state governments. So the journey started with my co-founder, Spokey Wheeler, who's from the UK, who's also my partner. And together we worked in with various organizations like the Open University on programs, and also as a member of the Royal Society for the Arts and the Ashoka Fellow. I've been part of a lot of other programs for my own personal well-being. So I am extremely happy to be here to have a conversation and to begin to let you know who these people are. I invite Paco to introduce himself. Paco, please.
Thanks, Kavita. I'm Paco Briseño, and I'm a Mexican living in Spain most of the time. Father of 3 beautiful creatures, and professionally, I'm focused on education, in particular sustainability and regeneration, but also doing a lot of mentoring and coaching for transformation where well-being is core. And yeah, and for that, I think that our integration on my coaching part is really focused on bringing well-being to the core of the different organizations, focusing a lot in creating communities more than just organizations. But we'll talk more about that. So let me pass the voice to one of the speakers today, Mireya, please.
Hello. My name is Mireya. I'm a sociologist. I was born in Venezuela. Now I'm living in Spain. And I'm an Ashoka Fellow since many years ago, 30 years around. And I was a fellow of a special program of Stanford University, in the Distinguished Career Initiative. And I have been working in well-being area for many years, now around 20 years, since 20 years ago. And I'm a specialist in the inner well-being of the change maker. This is my work of my research, my planning ideas. And I'm living the process of thinking in my inner well-being, and is very interesting, the connection between organization, ecosystem, and all around the personal well-being of social agent of change. And now I pass to Debbie. You continue, Debbie? Or Komi, I don't know.
Yeah, Debasmita.
Debbie. Okay.
Hi, I'm Debasmita. I'm joining from India today. I live in a city called Pune. I am a psychotherapist by training and have practiced as a psychotherapist for around a decade. And eventually I realized that, we can't keep picking or helping people who've fallen into the river, keep pulling them out. Someone has to go upstream a little bit more and find out why they're falling in. And my interest in raising awareness and trying to build capacity so that there's more and more people are informed, more and more people are able to take better care of themselves and of the communities that they are in. That was the idea, that was the effort. And I'm currently with this organization called Manah Wellness. Very happy to be associated with Manah Wellness and with Catalyst as well. One of the things that we do primarily in the space of workplace well-being is to create well-being champions. That's our focus, and the well-being champions are out there in part, as a part of the community, developing a capacity for communities to become more resilient and to be able to prevent mental health and promote health practices. So that's a little bit of what we do. And I will pass it back to Kavita.
Thank you, Debasmita. I think we are all here. Are we all part of Catalyst? Is there anybody who doesn't know about Catalyst? Just please let us know, because that's the platform that we all are on and we love and use and get together and know each other from across the world. So if you aren't, then please let us know and we will let you know how to be a member. If we want to continue, the obvious thing that we would like first is one exercise that we can all take part in, which is about being able to experience well-being. So I'm going to invite Paco to take us through a grounding exercise so that we can begin with that experience.
Thanks, Kavita. And yeah, this is a part of our inner well-being. So I invite you to sit comfortable in your chair with your feet flat on the ground, and close your eyes if you are comfortable with that, or soften your gaze. And take a deep breath in through your nose, filling your lungs completely. And hold for a moment. Then exhale slowly through your mouth. And repeat this 2 more times. Feel your body, how it relaxes with each exhale. And imagine roots growing from the soles of your feet, reaching deep into the earth. And feel the strength and stability of the ground beneath you, providing support and nourishment. Visualize this connection grounding you, anchoring you firmly in the present moment, but also connecting with the others. And picture yourself in a peaceful, natural setting. Select yours, perhaps a forest, a meadow, or by the ocean. And feel the gentle breeze on your skin. Hear the sounds of nature around you. And notice the fresh scents in the air. Allow yourself to feel a deep sense of connection with the natural world. It's all around us. Recognizing that you are part of this larger ecosystem. We all are. Or bring to mind something or someone you are grateful for. It could be a person, another being, a recent experience, or even the simple fact of being alive in this moment. Hold this feeling of gratitude in your heart, letting it expand and fill you with warmth and appreciation. Take another deep breath. And now, think of someone who might be in need of compassion, including yourself. And visualize sending them a wave of kindness and understanding. Imagining this compassion enveloping them like a warm embrace. And extend this same compassion to yourself, acknowledging your own efforts and challenges with kindness. Slowly bring your awareness back to your breath. And feel the rise and fall of your chest with each inhale and exhale. When you are ready, gently wiggle your fingers and toes and open your eyes. And smile. Notice how you feel. As we move forward in our conversation today on organizational well-being, carry this sense of grounding, gratitude, and compassion with you and for all the others. Thank you.
Thank you, Paco. That was beautiful. And I would really like to sort of hear from people in the room as to what they experienced. And that also then would take us to a question about how does everybody want to define well-being, right? So as you speak about or write about your experience, if possible, also write about what you think well-being really means to you. So I'm going to give you 30 seconds to think and then put it down on the chat. Yeah, I think it would be fine to also look at the definition from a personal lens. It's fine, yeah, as well as an organizational lens. So Sylvia, thank you for saying peace, contentment, connection. Danielle, alignment. Abigail, everyone thrives. Yes. Okay, we've got wholeness as well. Balanced mental and physical state, being in that state of feeling of flow. Wonderful. Relaxation, balance, calm, lovely words, making you feel those words, right? Right. So I think in a world that's got both joy, sorrow, energy, exhaustion, a sense of buoyancy, but also stress, we want to know how well-being can be practiced other than meeting you, right? So I'm going to ask each one of you, what does it really mean to you when you talk about it as the expert, as the person who has spent time and energy in the space defining it? How do you explain and understand well-being and organizational well-being? Who would like to go first? Can I ask Mireya to start us off?
Yes, I think that my personal well-being is a combination of different aspects, but inner well-being is it's like a state when the people have a kind of balance of different aspects of in their life. And I think that it's really important to understand that you have different dimensions in the process of personal well-being, lifestyle and daily practice, physical and health, stress and resilience, purpose and meaning, sense of self, and I think that is a combination of different aspects. And when I think about the organizational well-being, I think that it's a combination of inner well-being, but is necessary the employee engagement in this area of well-being inside the organization, and provide like a culture of well-being in the organization. I think that is the combination of these three aspects: inner well-being, employee engagement, and culture of well-being.
Oh, lovely. Paco, you want to take that up next? What is your way of defining it or explaining it?
Yeah, and I love what Mireya said about our personal well-being, that is linked with the organizational one, and we need to be together. And someone in the chat talking about well-being mentioned how to thrive together, no? And I think that that's an important aspect, no? And for me, organizational well-being is a holistic state, no, where the organization thrives, no, by fostering this life-affirming and sustainable environment, no? I think that sustainability is essential because it takes the triple bottom line, no? So it's not only to work for the economic aspect, no, that is an important one, but also including all the stakeholders in this physical, emotional, mental, financial, as I mentioned, and social well-being, no? And I think that an important aspect that I would like to put and bring here is the quality of relationships, no? All the relations in the organization and outside the organization, no? Including, as I mentioned, stakeholders and shareholders for sure, but also, well, the communities around, the society, and, well, other organizations as well, no? I think that we need to move from this idea of competition to at least co-opetition, if not collaboration. So that is how I think that we can move forward.
Wonderful. Debasmita, obviously you're next, so go for it.
Right. I agree with both Mireya and Paco. I was thinking how to phrase this because this is so nuanced. And, you know, I think for me, well-being means being empty at the same time full. And when I say empty, I mean empty of my potential on that day, in that moment. So if I can give everything that I have to give and I feel empty, that would be one part of well-being. And the part that's full would be full of learning and equanimity, maybe, because I think joy is very aspirational for every day. It seems a little unrealistic. So equanimity is what would be my sense of well-being. But going back to the relationship bit that Paco was talking about, I think because I have worked a lot with the mentally ill population, I think a lot of what well-being is also determined by our relationship with our own past, with ourselves, with our lived experiences. So all of those, I think, also play a part in organizational well-being because we bring all of that to work, whether we are a leader or we're at whatever level we are in the organization. But I think thinking about it from a more from an organizational perspective, it would really be where one has the space and autonomy to give their fullest, receive so that they are full, and feel connected, feel aligned in a sense of purpose. So that's where I'll stop and get back to you, Kavita.
So, Debasmita, it sounds like a lot of contradictions being held at the same time. You're talking about emptiness, fullness. So I'm just wondering, I mean, if you were to extend this idea to saying that, okay, well-being has been achieved and the world is full of it, what would that world look like? You know, how would you understand if it was something where it was no longer aspirational to be looking for well-being, but actually it was already achieved? What sort of a world would we be living in then? Would you like to take that straight, and then we can move to the others?
Yes, I think when I say the contradictions of being empty and full, I think in a world where we would have achieved that, it would look like free-flowing exchange of connection, alignment, of of communities that come together, and just that sense of connectedness where we fill each other's cups. And together we are working towards something and achieving something. I think that's the image that comes to my mind. Of course, physical and mental health are dynamic, that will keep moving along. But if we have that sense of receiving and giving and a purpose that binds us, I think that'll create a sense of well-being among people.
Wow, that sounds great. Paco, do you think that you can extend that or expand on it? What's your sense of that fulfilled world?
Yeah, well, we live in a complex world, no? And things are not one color or another, no? Well, maybe you have heard about this concept of VUCA, no? This volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity, no? And we live in that world. So there are a lot of contradictions in the life and the universe. So we need to embrace that thing, no? And I think that that is an evolution on how we are dealing with the topics, not only the processes and the systems that we have in the organizations, but also how we are going to integrate all these needs. No, for me, the future are life-affirming workplaces that we embrace that complexity. We need to think in more equity and inclusion. No, that is going to be part of well-being. Well, we call it the Jedi superpowers. No, that are justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion. No, and that is becoming the norm in that future that I'm imagining. No, more collaborative communities, so we don't have more organization with divisions, but we're unities, no, or units, more resilience and adaptability. The change is happening and in an accelerated pace. So we need to also create possibilities, no, inside and outside the organizations to deal with this. And inner development is a priority in every single organization.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. I think that would be quite something, Mireya. Is that mirroring you? Would you agree that there?
Yes, I completely agree with Paco and Debbie. And I dream with a situation that could be completely different that is now. We did a study this year about the situation of change maker and social entrepreneurs, and we found that levels of anxiety and burnout is really high. It's up around 60%, and level of non-well-being, the people feel that the well-being is really low, for around 73%. It's really high. I think that in the future, this situation can change, must change. And I think that is a compromise with the inner well-being of the workers or people in organization. And I think that for me, I expect a new level of consciousness. I think that the people have to be conscious about their own well-being and the well-being in the organization. And I think that this is the main work that we have to do. And I think that's the second thing very important in the future is the emotional connection with their own life, with others, in the relationship and inside the organization. And I think that it's really important the build capacities in this way about consciousness, about the emotion, and encourage the people to do it inside the organization and to do it inside their own life. I think that it is a big challenge, but I dream with these changes because I think that it is the possibility to build another kind of sustainability and inner life. I don't know.
No, you do know. I think there is something there. I would like the people in the room here, everybody's been putting down what they are saying and talking about how they love this and having the capacity to be present for one another, and what you're saying, Mireya, about how organizations have to be different. So it's really tough sometimes because I lead two organizations and we are trying to be teal, really trying to be open and the ownership of the organization has to be everybody's, not just a founder's or somebody who's at the top. So there is a huge attempt being made, and this is a very conscious, articulated attempt to say that we step back as much as possible, and others also have the space and the time to be able to step forward. So those kinds of things aren't easy. They come naturally to people that they should be the ones to speak first, or go first. So I would be asking you to give us some examples in your organizations or the ones that you're working in. What do you see? What does this well-being that you're speaking of, can you see the seeds of it? Can you see it playing out in some way? What does it look like? And I'd love some examples of actual practice that you have seen. Paco, if you'd like to kick this one off, that how does one actually see and identify or make visible the sense of wellness in an organization?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. Well, I think that you mentioned the teal organizations, no? And I think that one element that is really important there is to have a shared purpose, no? And an evolutionary purpose, actually, no? That is really open, and it works like an umbrella to include the personal purposes of values of every single member of the organization. So that aspect is key. That we have in most of our organizations, we have the mission, the vision, the values, and sometimes I think that a lot of times those are there in a document, no, in the annual report, or in golden words in the at the lobby of the office, no. But we need to live those things. So that's one thing, and also with some flexibility to accommodate the singularity, no, the individuality, and then create something collective. That's one thing. You mentioned governance as well. That is essential, though. We need a shared governance model. No, these pyramids, these hierarchies that are very rigid are not natural. So we need also to create something different. No, maybe, well, there are a lot of examples of how to do this. No, holacracy or sociocracy. These models that are sharing decision making, responsibility, and allow this space for people to thrive in the organization. No? For years, I have been working with the human resources, and one of the first things for years I have been doing is trying to fight that concept. No, so people are not resources, as nature are not natural resources. No, but now I'm using more the term because every single person has individual resources. No, and those are the human resources. No, and every single being, every single person is complete, creative, and full of resources. If we give a space for those things to develop in the organizations, our organizations are going to be better, are going to be more resilient, are going to be more just, more fair, more are going to be living places. No, so and that's the thing. We are trying to recreate that in some of the organizations where I'm part of. I think that Catalyst is a show. Well, it's an example of how these things are happening. You know, diversity is allowed, and we can create different collaborations, and it's not a rigid structure. No, so that is the kind of thing. In regenerators, we're trying to do the same thing. Where I'm giving my courses on regenerative leadership. So yeah, there's a founder, but the founder is not the owner, is not is not the boss, no? So there's a space for everyone. In Action for Earth, or in the inner development goals, hubs that we are also nurturing, because it's not that we are managing, is this kind of thing. So give a space for things to happen, no? And sometimes it's release the command and control way of doing things. No? Allow a space for people to bring their own superpowers or small powers. I don't. It doesn't need to be superpowers. So give a space for everything and everyone to do something, and everything to happen. Expect the unexpected.
All right. Yeah, give space, and space being the really operative word. Mireya, do you want to pick up from where Paco's left and take it forward?
Yes, I'm thinking now my personal experience with Ashoka in Spain and Portugal. And it's amazing because we are working for 2 years now, and 2 cohorts working in this inner well-being process. And it's really interesting because I think that the capacity to build in something that I talk later about the new level of conscious is the first thing that you can so that is impact in the process. And it's really interesting when you see that you have this powerful or social entrepreneur that are working and producing impact and changing the world and all the things that we know. And at the end, when they began to think about their own well-being, how many things change inside the organization, because they are really impacted with this aspect. And for me, it's interesting this experience with Ashoka in Spain and Portugal, because it's like the way that we can see how it's possible to do it, and how the social entrepreneur feel the necessity to connect with the owner, the own well-being, and how is this impact is spread to the organization. And you can see that the people care together about the personal situation, and it's like build a culture of well-being. And this is a experience that said you that, wow, this is a way that to do it. And I think that it is a good example.
Wonderful. I think that's beautifully said. And Debasmita, you run an organization, so I think all the more I'm expecting you to give us, what do you do to make that happen in your own organization?
Yeah. So, I think one of the things we realized is that every organization, at least, speaking from the Southeast Asian perspective, is at a very different stage of exploring well-being. And their awareness is very different. Therefore, what they can receive is very different. And one of the things that we start out with doing is trying to assess where the organization is and meet them where they are. So a lot of times it just means holding space for people to come and have fun, and maybe just spend 1 minute reflecting about their experience, to just sow that seed of self-awareness. And that's the starting point. And sometimes we do that for months, for an entire year. There are programs just around that, where there's a lot of de-stressing. It's almost like a carnival, but what you do at the end of it, or what is sort of every aspect of the carnival carries that essence of self-awareness. So bit by bit, we're trying to sort of develop that. And then as organizations progress, the next thing that seems important is to have advocates. So our primary focus would then be to create these champions of well-being, who would not only be the eyes and ears on ground to sort of pick out early signs of distress or illness, but also be the driving force behind the initiatives. Because it's so important to understand the pulse, what people really want, rather than coming from this expert perspective of, I think this is what the organization or this is what the people need. So then the second most important thing becomes for us is to create those champions, those advocates within the organization. And then is when the fun begins, because now it's not just us driving something. It's now the organization or the people owning the program. Now we hear ideas coming from them, and they are coming up with suggestions. And, that's what I was thinking of when Paco said, give them space. So then it kind of picks up its own momentum and it's self-driven, and we are just there to support and provide, of course, the professional resources that people need. But and at the same time, I think, again, coming from the Southeast Asian perspective, it becomes very important to also bring awareness among the leadership, because it has to, I mean, for it to become a culture, it has to be driven by them. So we often talk of this 5 Ps framework, like so well-being has to be part of the organization's purpose. That's 1 P, purpose. Then we have policy. You need to have a policy around it, which is pretty straightforward, but it's very new for so many of us. Then there's practice. So it has to be part of your workflow. It has to be part of something that you do. So in our own organization, in Manah Wellness, for example, what Paco you did for us earlier, we start every day with that. Every big team meeting that happens starts with that. So there are days when 3 or 4 times we've had a 2-minute space where we've just breathed and allowed ourselves to be. So it's a very small practice, but it's embedded in the workflow. So that's the practice, the 3rd P. And then we have people, listening to what people want and empowering people to advocate for well-being and change, collective change. And lastly, there's process. So there has to be a system around it. There have to be very, data-driven initiatives and measurement at the end of those to see what's happening, what's being received well, what's not being received well, what's the impact, all of that, what's the outcome. So those are the 5 Ps that help us, add some structure to this, to all of this. So
that's an easy mantra for people to remember. You probably have some resources, Debasmita, if you would be able to
Sure.
drop them in the chat, that would be absolutely great for people who want to see this. And you can see that the consensus is leaders need to set the tone, and I completely accept that. I think I was luckily a well-being fellow, and I got the chance to do a lot of work on myself and my own sense of purpose. And it really made me think about how we're making this possible for others in the organization, and become more conscious and more thoughtful, and sort of much more. And I would say much more aware and mindful of the fact that that's so important for everyone. So just while I'm sure that I would invite all 3 of you to my organization to say, like, come and work with me. I'm wondering, is that something that you experience a lot from people saying, please come and do this with our organizations? We need to enhance the well-being of the organization. Why would people come to you? What drives them to you? What makes that happen? What are the reasons why somebody says, please come and support us in our quest? Whoever wants to go first this time.
Well, my mic's on. I'll just take this one and then pass it to the Paco and Mireya. I think, from what I have seen, there are people who have woken up to the need and to the significance of well-being, and not only in their lives, but in the lives of people around them. And these are people who have lived experience, either their own or vicariously through some loved ones. And these are the agents driving well-being in organizations. Usually there'd be one leader, or like maybe 2 leaders who for some reason crossed paths with the well-being movement, and they have learned and explored and understood their own vulnerability. And then they realize how important it is, and they are the ones who are driving it. And a lot of times it is compliance. So certain industries where well-being is part of their safety compliance, those are the people who reach out and say, hey, can you do this for us? Or this is what we are facing. We work a lot with, shipping, aviation, industries like that. So that's where we see. But a lot of times, to be very honest, there are people who want to drive this, but there's no budget. There's, we are still having the conversation around what will it really do for us? Is it going to feed the bottom line? So that's a very, very real challenge. That's also there. I'll stop here.
Well, in our case, well, we are talking a lot about a new paradigm, no? And when there's awareness in some organizations that they need to explore this other side, is when they call us, no? For inspiration and motivation sometimes, for guidance and expertise in some other cases, but in particular, it is capacity building because yeah, we need something different. And I think that well, as every individual, no? So we have a lot of capacities that are not explored because the rigid systems and processes in how organizations have been created, no? So they called us to explore, no? Well-being, sustainability, systems thinking, no? This extending the view and inner growth, no? Capacities that are already in the organization, but have been separated from the actual processes, no? So bringing that into life in organizations and using that as part of the regular systems and processes and operations is that moment when they called us and exploring a new way of leadership. No, we believe that we all are leaders. No, in every single role in the organization. So sharing the responsibility, the power, and it's not exercising the power over people. No, it's the power with people. And then that capacity building that we are trying to catalyze is coming back to life.
In my case, the approach of organization that work with me is about, they are worried about the situation of the workers. For example, the levels of burnout or the levels of anxiety or many affection of the health and if emotional health inside the organization. And I think that one of the services that I provide is about knowing the situation of the mental health of well-being of the workers. I think that know the situation is really important to begin to planning what they can do. And I think that is my contribution in this sense, because know the situation is really important. I think that another organization find necessary to generate new levels of awareness about well-being, and this is another kind of necessities, because it's the work with the workers to generate some kind of purpose or capacity building, like Paco said, and this is a main work that we have to work, because you need to generate this awareness that is important inside the organization, and the worker feel the necessity to compromise with the well-being inside the organization and the inner well-being. And I think that another kind of area where we work is measuring impact in well-being. This is the big challenge, because many organizations is very resistant to understand the way that you can measure the impact. And it is like a practice to generate the real conscious about the situation inside the organization. But I think that this is a kind of combination, because it's information to take decision, is about define or establish well-being policies and practice and measuring impact. But for me, I like to work in the inner well-being with the people, and I think that this is my hard contribution to the well-being area.
You're
Kavita,
muted,
you're
Kavita.
Sorry, I didn't realize that it happened. I just wondered if, Debasmita, you want to just give us a quick sort of exercise in organizational well-being, something that you do with organizations that we could experience. I think we'd like this to be more experiential. Possible to give us a quick taster?
Sure. So I have, one thing that we often talk about, when we ask people, despite all the initiatives that I just talked about, yet when we ask people, what does well-being at work or in the organization mean to you? The answer often begins with how other people have made them feel in the organization, how people have held, safe spaces for them, or how people have supported them through difficult times. So the answer always starts with, my CEO says this, or my founder says that, or my manager, or my team leader, or my colleague. And it always fascinates me that to think that we carry these voices in our mind, the voices of support, the voices of well-being, even if they are not working with us anymore. So one very brief exercise that I will invite all of us into here would be to think back to your professional journey, to all the workplaces you've been in, and think of that one voice that was sort of like the beacon of support and encouragement, and like someone who was totally in your corner. And go back to like one memory of maybe you've done something right, or you were afraid of maybe one presentation or one project, and there was that one person who said, you got this, you can do it, right? Let's just go back to that memory. Go back to that moment, go back to that memory, go through that memory like you're watching it on a screen, frame by frame, savor it. Keep your eyes open, closed, whatever works. But what I really want all of you to do is to hear that person's voice in your mind. Remember what they said, the tone they said it in. Were they smiling when they said it? And how did you receive it? Did it make you smile? Did it give you goosebumps? Were you excited? What did it do for you? Did you feel just, warm and fuzzy and melting, maybe because they were being so encouraging? And let that reaction sweep over you right now in this moment. Stay in that reaction, in that feeling, whatever it felt like in your mind and in your body. Stay with that for a moment. And keeping that experience with you, whenever you're ready, you can come back to the room, back to all of us. So I call this, the ring, and you can name it. It can be like your ring of support, your ring of joy, your ring of encouragement, whatever you want to call it. So it's a ring of whatever you want to call it. And, we have hard days, we have difficult days, we've all sorts of times at workplaces, right? And this is just something that we can step into anytime. It's like your little bubble of encouragement, of positivity that you carry with you. So that's all. I just wanted all of us to experience it and take this ring of encouragement with you from the session.
Wow. I think the 30 seconds that, we've got here now, I'd like you to do the same thing that we were asked. Think for 30 seconds about what you might want to ask any one of the people in this room. That's Mireya, Paco, or Debasmita, because we're going to give you the time to go meet them in a breakout room, just the person that you really want to spend a little more time with. And so the 10-minute breakout room that's coming up, think for 30 seconds, what's the question? Who's the person? Who would you like to speak with? And then you'll get the breakout rooms available to you, and you'll be allowed to go meet the person you want to out of the three to ask your burning question, right? So please identify. And in the meanwhile, Kumi, if you can make the rooms, please. Those of us who managed to get into the breakout room, speak, and then come back successfully, I am welcoming you back in here just to say that we will be closing this session. And I think for all of us, probably what we want to hear before we do a little bit of, sitting in silence, because I think that's a great way to end, and we would like to do that as a community together, is ask for the last sort of statement from each of our speakers. So Paco, if you want to go first, then we'll go to Debasmita, and then Mireya, you get the last word. So yeah.
Yeah. And what you mentioned, the silence, no? This is a super powerful practice, no? And doing this together is amazing. And we close in the small room talking about calm, no? And that's a skill that I think that is really important. It's really important now. I think it's urgent and it's easy to practice, no? Sometimes it's well, maybe permaculture, no? One of the main principles is do nothing at the beginning, no? I'm trying to be calm, no? And so practice more calm, no? The rhythm outside is accelerating and it's asking for more and more and more speed. But I think that we need to be activists of calm, no? And practice that more. Thank you for the opportunity to share.
Thank you, Paco. Debasmita.
Yes, I think, the conversation here was a lot around organizations. And the one thing that emerged again is that we just need more and more advocates, more champions to come together and collaborate so that this movement towards well-being and collective changes gets stronger and stronger. So everyone's welcome, bring your friends, bring people bring people you work with. That would be it.
Yes, thinking in all our conversation, I think that we have to be compassionate. We need to practice compassion with ourselves, with others, because we have a very complicated life and the world is very complicated in this moment. And I think that we need to be compassionate with ourselves, with others, and I only invite you to be compassionate with ourselves and others. And this is a very important emotion in the life of all of us. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Mireya. And you were really compassionate with me when I was not able to contact you, and I said I was going to. So I know that you practice that very well. Thank you so much for that. So I think we bring with our intentionality 30 seconds of silence and really be with ourselves, at the end of which, Komi, I invite you to break it yourself and close the session the way that you would, right? So for 30 seconds, beginning now.
Thank you, everybody. So please take out 1 to 2 minutes. What how engaging this space for you. And while you are filling the survey, please mark your calendars and register for visual and moving arts in well-being. And this session offer offers valuable knowledge and inspiration on using art and movement to foster mental health. And it's perfect for art therapists, performer, educators, storyteller, and anyone interested in the intersection of arts and well-being. Also, don't forget to visit Social Change Innovators website to explore a wealth of knowledge, of information and resources created by and for social entrepreneurs around the world. And finally, to join Catalyst 2030, consider to follow our Facebook and different social platforms. And we wish everybody peace and energy to keep up your great work. Before leaving, how about we say thank you in our native language to everybody.
Gracias.
Gracias.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you.
Nagode, nagode.
Dhanyawad.
Dhanyawad.